They won't even give me a permit for the parties, man. They don't want me to throw the parties no more.
Have you ever wondered what truly happens behind the closed doors of the most glamorous parties hosted by the biggest stars? Beneath the dazzling lights and extravagant lifestyles lies a world of mystery, power, and shocking revelations. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the infamous parties of Sean Diddy Combs, a story filled with secrets, manipulation, and a side of Hollywood you've never seen before. In the late 1990s, Hollywood was at its peak. The music industry was booming, and the world was captivated by the magnetic pull of R&B, hip-hop, and celebrity culture. Diddy was a king in this kingdom, throwing some of the most legendary parties the entertainment world had ever seen. These events weren't just parties, they were spectacles. Picture this: sprawling mansions with golden chandeliers, endless streams of champagne, and an elite guest list featuring names like Usher, Justin Bieber, and LeBron James. To the world, these events were nothing more than a dazzling celebration of success. But to those who attended, there was something much darker beneath the surface. Diddy's parties had a certain mystique. They were exclusive, secretive, and larger than life. Attendees were handpicked, ensuring that only the most powerful and influential were invited. From A-list celebrities to high-powered CEOs, these gatherings were more than just social events. They were the epicenter of Hollywood's inner circle. But as the night wore on, guests began to notice something strange. Beneath the glamorous facade, whispers of unusual behavior and disturbing activities began to circulate. It's been said that Trey Songz was spotted in an intimate moment with Diddy at one of these extravagant bashes. At first, it seemed like just another Hollywood rumor, but the story took an unexpected turn. According to one witness, after this moment, they were invited to join Diddy and Trey in a private room, where what they saw left them speechless. The atmosphere was thick with tension, and the realization dawned that this wasn't just a party. It was a controlled environment where every move seemed orchestrated. Even more disturbing was the revelation that some attendees weren't just participants. They were being recorded, secretly captured on phones and hidden cameras. Their most private moments were allegedly being stored as leverage. This wasn't about fun anymore. It was about power, control, and secrets that could ruin lives if they ever came to light. Fast forward to recent years, and these whispers have turned into full-blown investigations. With the FBI now digging into Diddy's activities, the curtain is finally being lifted on what really happened at these parties. And here's the most shocking part. Several high-profile CEOs who attended these gatherings have mysteriously stepped down from their positions, fueling speculation that they, too, were caught up in the web of manipulation. But what's the cost of this power? For the attendees, it wasn't just their reputations on the line. It was their sense of safety, privacy, and freedom. And for Diddy, the king of these legendary parties, it's a legacy that is now being questioned. What was once seen as a symbol of success is now unraveling into a story of control, secrecy, and betrayal. So, as we dive deeper into this story, ask yourself this: how much are people willing to sacrifice to climb the ladder of fame? What price is too high when it comes to protecting your place in the spotlight? This is just the beginning of a journey into the dark side of Hollywood's golden age, where the lines between power and morality blur, and the truth is stranger than fiction. Stay tuned, because the revelations only get darker from here. The lights are low, the music pulsates through the walls, and the champagne flows endlessly. Diddy's legendary parties were not just gatherings. They were spectacles that became the talk of Hollywood's elite. But behind the golden chandeliers and red carpets lay a world that very few truly understood. A world where power dynamics and hidden motives turned the glamorous into something sinister. Imagine walking into a sprawling mansion. The smell of expensive cologne fills the air, and every corner glistens with wealth and luxury. The guest list reads like a who's who of Hollywood: Jay-Z, Beyonce, Usher, and even high-powered CEOs who rarely step out into the limelight. These parties were exclusive, and being invited was seen as a badge of honor. But once you stepped inside, you realized this wasn't just any party. It was a performance, and every attendee played a role. At first glance, everything seemed perfect. There were no limits to the extravagance. Top-tier DJs controlled the music, fashion designers showcased their latest collections on the attendees, and conversations sparkled with the kind of energy you'd expect from people who had everything. But as the night went on, things began to shift. The laughter became forced, and a sense of unease started to creep in. Beneath the surface of this glittering display, something darker was brewing. One guest recounts an incident that left them questioning everything. Amid the clinking of glasses and the glow of chandeliers, they noticed Trey Songz and Diddy standing unusually close. What began as playful banter quickly turned into something more intimate. Witnesses claimed they saw the two share a moment so shocking it silenced the room. But that wasn't the end of it. Shortly after, a select few, including the witness, were invited into a private room, a space few ever got to see. The room was dimly lit, the air heavy with secrecy. Diddy sat at the center of the room, his demeanor one of absolute control. Trey Songz was there too, seated close to Diddy, their body language impossible to ignore. The tension was palpable. The witness described feeling like they had stepped onto a stage where everyone's actions were being choreographed by an unseen hand. They were asked to participate, to join what was happening, and the pressure to say yes was overwhelming. But what truly shook this guest wasn't just the personal nature of what they witnessed. It was the realization that everything was being recorded. Hidden cameras captured every interaction, every whispered word, and every vulnerable moment. The witness later discovered that these recordings were not for personal use, but were tools of control, used to ensure loyalty or to silence those who might speak out. And it didn't stop there. Stories began to emerge of others who had attended these parties and left with their reputations in tatters. High-profile CEOs, powerful enough to rule industries, found themselves ensnared in Diddy's web of manipulation. Some resigned suddenly from their positions after attending these gatherings, fueling rumors that they, too, had fallen victim to the covert recordings. These revelations cast a shadow over the lavish parties that had once been the envy of Hollywood. What had seemed like innocent fun now felt more like a trap, a carefully crafted illusion where wealth and power masked the true nature of the events. For those who dared to step into Diddy's world, the cost was far greater than they could have imagined. Beneath the golden glow of those legendary nights, the reality was stark. No one left untouched. Some walked away with their reputations scarred, while others carried secrets that would haunt them for years to come. And at the center of it all was Diddy, a man who wielded his parties not as celebrations, but as instruments of power and control. So, the question remains, how far would you go to be part of Hollywood's elite? And once you're in, can you ever truly escape? The music industry has always been intertwined with power, secrets, and hidden alliances. But the deeper you go into its inner workings, the more disturbing the truths become. At the heart of this darkness are Diddy's legendary parties, which have left a trail of shattered careers and unanswered questions. These weren't just places to rub shoulders with celebrities. They were stages where power was wielded and manipulated. And the ones who felt the sharpest edge of this control, high-profile CEOs who thought they were untouchable. In recent years, whispers about Diddy's parties turned into full-blown investigations. The FBI began digging into a series of incidents that connected some of the most powerful executives in America to these gatherings. The timing was suspicious. After Diddy's arrest, several CEOs resigned abruptly from their positions. These weren't ordinary resignations. They were sudden, unexplained, and riddled with speculation. What could drive such powerful figures to step down without warning? The answer seemed to lie in the shadows of Diddy's extravagant events. One former attendee described the atmosphere of these parties as intoxicating at first, filled with wealth, charm, and the promise of connections that could change your life. But by the end of the night, the mood would shift dramatically. People who had arrived as guests began to realize they were part of something much bigger and much more sinister. What they didn't know was that hidden cameras were strategically placed throughout the event, recording every detail. Phones, too, were used to capture moments without consent. And what was being filmed wasn't just casual party antics. It was deeply personal, sometimes compromising footage. The most shocking revelation came during a lawsuit involving Lil Rod, a former close associate of Diddy. In court, investigators disclosed they had seized 96 electronic devices from Diddy's properties. Among them were 8 hard drives containing a staggering 90 terabytes of data, an amount so massive it's almost incomprehensible. For context, most high-end laptops only have about 1 terabyte of storage. What could possibly require that much space? The answer sent chills through the courtroom. Videos, photos, and files documenting years of interactions at Diddy's parties. But these weren't innocent keepsakes. The evidence suggested these recordings were being used as leverage. For the CEOs who attended, this was a nightmare scenario. Their actions, whether voluntary or coerced, were now in the hands of someone who could destroy their careers with a single upload. One executive described the experience as walking into a lion's den without realizing it until it was too late. You're made to feel like the most important person in the room, they said, until you realize you were just another pawn in the game. The fallout was immediate and devastating. CEOs who had once commanded entire industries resigned in disgrace, their sudden departures raising red flags. Were they blackmail? Were they complicit in activities they couldn't risk being exposed? The truth remains elusive, but the patterns are hard to ignore. Those who entered Diddy's world often left it stripped of their power, their reputations forever tainted. For Diddy, these recordings were more than just tools. They were weapons. They allowed him to maintain control over even the most powerful people, ensuring their silence and loyalty. And while some may have gone along willingly, others found themselves trapped in a web they couldn't escape. The recordings were his ultimate insurance policy, a way to keep everyone in check while solidifying his own position at the top. This revelation raises a troubling question. How much of Hollywood's success is built on mutual trust, and how much is built on fear? For the CEOs who stepped down, their silence speaks volumes. And for Diddy, his empire may have been built not just on talent, but on secrets that no one dares to confront. As we uncover more about this story, it's clear that the world of fame and power isn't just glamorous, it's dangerous. And for those who dared to enter, the price they paid may have been far higher than they ever imagined. When it came to Diddy's legendary parties, simply being invited wasn't enough to guarantee access to everything. These events operated like an exclusive club within a club. The main party was a spectacle in itself, full of music, laughter, and luxury. But the real action happened after the lights dimmed and most of the guests had left. Only a select few were allowed to stay behind, entering a world that was far more private, far more mysterious, and far more dangerous. Imagine being in one of Diddy's mansions late at night. The air feels heavier, the chatter quieter, as only a handful of people remain. Names like Jay-Z, Beyoncé, and high-ranking CEOs from the corporate world often made the cut. These individuals weren't just guests. They were participants in something that seemed almost ritualistic. Witnesses described the atmosphere as intense, even eerie. The sprawling mansion that once felt alive with energy now seemed cloaked in secrecy. For those lucky or unlucky enough to stay, the experience became increasingly surreal. A former insider, known only as Dabab, shared chilling details about what really happened during these private after-parties. According to him, staying past the main event wasn't just a matter of privilege. It required passing a kind of test. What kind of test? No one knew until they were faced with it. For some, it meant demonstrating blind loyalty. For others, it involved participating in activities they never would have considered under normal circumstances. Dabab likened it to a performance, with Diddy as the director, orchestrating every detail with an almost unnerving precision. At the center of it all was Diddy himself. He had a way of making people feel both honored and on edge. One moment, he would shower someone with attention, making them feel like they were his closest confidant. The next, he would sit back and observe, his piercing gaze suggesting he was silently assessing everyone in the room. It was clear that these after-parties weren't just for entertainment. They were a stage where Diddy could exercise his power and control. But what made these gatherings even more unsettling was the constant surveillance. Hidden cameras were rumored to be placed in strategic locations, capturing every word, every gesture, every indiscretion. Guests began to notice how their movements were subtly monitored, adding to the growing sense of unease. Dabab recalled one particular night when he realized the weight of Diddy's influence. It wasn't just a party, he said. It felt like a test of how far you were willing to go and whether you were worth keeping around. And not everyone was. Those who didn't meet Diddy's expectations were quietly excluded from future events, their names erased from his exclusive circle. But for those who stayed, the rewards were undeniable. Access to powerful connections, career opportunities, and a sense of belonging in a world that few could enter. Yet, these rewards came at a steep cost. As Dabab described, once you were in, it felt like you could never really leave. Diddy had a way of making you feel like you owed him everything. For those who thrived in Diddy's circle, there was one unspoken rule: loyalty at all costs. And for those who failed, the consequences were swift and severe. It was as if Diddy held the keys to their success, and stepping out of line meant losing everything. Over time, many began to realize that being part of this world wasn't just about living a glamorous life. It was about surviving in a game where the stakes were impossibly high. As the truth about these parties continues to unravel, one thing becomes clear: the allure of exclusivity often comes with a darker side. For the select few who remained after the crowds had gone, they discovered that what seemed like a golden opportunity was really a gilded cage. And at the heart of it all was Diddy, a man whose power wasn't just in his wealth or fame, but in his ability to control those around him. For some, it was a privilege. For others, it was a prison. In the world of Sean Diddy Combs, relationships were often more than just friendships. They were alliances carefully cultivated to serve a purpose. On the surface, Diddy was a generous mentor and confidant, known for boosting the careers of those he took under his wing. But for many, the price of his support wasn't fully understood until it was too late. His connections, particularly with other artists, were as much about control as they were about collaboration. Take French Montana, for example, a rising star who seemed destined for greatness the moment Diddy took him under his wing. Their relationship was the envy of the music industry. Diddy not only signed French to a deal, but went so far as to create a custom flavor of Ciroc vodka in his honor: French vanilla. At one point, Diddy casually handed French a check for $1 million, a gesture meant to cement their bond and showcase Diddy's unparalleled generosity. To the outside world, it looked like French had hit the jackpot, a mentor who would do anything to ensure his success. But there was a darker side to this partnership. Diddy's generosity wasn't without strings. French quickly realized that being part of Diddy's circle came with unspoken expectations. Their collaborations often revolved around Diddy's interests, with French expected to promote his mentor's ventures at every turn. And while Diddy's involvement opened doors for French, it also placed a ceiling over his independence. "It wasn't about me building my own legacy," French later admitted to a confidant. "It was about building his." For a time, French played along, enjoying the perks of being one of Diddy's closest allies. The private jets, the parties, the exclusive deals. It was a lifestyle most could only dream of. But as his career grew, so did his desire to break free. French wanted to carve out his own identity, to create music that reflected his vision rather than Diddy's influence. That's when the cracks in their relationship began to show. As French started to pull away, the hits slowed down, and so did Diddy's support. The man who had once championed French at every turn became distant. French's decision to seek independence wasn't just a personal choice. It was seen as an act of defiance. And in Diddy's world, loyalty was everything. If you're not with him, one insider revealed, you're against him. And he makes sure you feel that. The tension reached a boiling point when rumors surfaced about Diddy's infamous habit of keeping leverage on those closest to him. French reportedly learned about the existence of recordings, videos captured during private moments at Diddy's parties, that could be used as leverage if their relationship soured further. It was a chilling realization. The very environment that had once felt like a sanctuary of success now seemed more like a trap. French's story isn't unique. Over the years, Many of Diddy's relationships have followed a similar pattern. A dazzling start filled with grand gestures and promises, followed by subtle but growing control. Those who tried to step out of line or assert their independence often found themselves isolated, their careers mysteriously losing momentum. For some, the realization came too late. For others, it was a stark reminder that in Diddy's circle, loyalty wasn't just expected, it was enforced. The fallout of these relationships raises a critical question. How much of success is worth sacrificing your freedom? For artists like French Montana, the answer seems clear now. The allure of fame and fortune, while tempting, often comes with a hidden cost. And in the world Diddy built, that cost wasn't just your career, it was your sense of self. As more stories come to light, one thing becomes increasingly evident. Diddy's empire wasn't just built on talent or ambition. It was built on a web of relationships where loyalty was demanded, control was maintained, and independence was punished. For those who dared to dream beyond his shadow, the journey from mentor to adversary was as swift as it was brutal. And for the rest of us, it's a sobering reminder that not all that glitters is gold. The glittering facade of Hollywood has always hidden secrets, but when it comes to Sean Diddy Combs, the shadows seem darker than most. Beyond the music, beyond the fame, and beyond the parties lies a web of mysteries that intertwines power, manipulation, and control. And the deeper you look, the stranger it gets. Rumors have long swirled about hidden elements within Diddy's empire. Things that go beyond even the manipulation of artists and CEOs. Some former associates claim that his sprawling mansions house secrets that the public would find almost unbelievable. Take, for instance, the infamous rumors of underground tunnels. According to insiders, these secret passageways allegedly connect Diddy's properties to other high-profile locations, including the Playboy Mansion. These tunnels, they say, were used to ensure the utmost privacy for his most exclusive guests. Privacy that, ironically, may have been a trap. One anonymous source recalls being led into one of these hidden corridors. They described a labyrinth-like design with dim lighting and thick, soundproof walls. Once you were inside, they said, it felt like you couldn't leave unless someone let you. They claimed that each tunnel entrance was secured with coded locks, ensuring that only those with access could move freely. What's more unsettling is the suggestion that these tunnels were not just for convenience, but were part of a larger system designed to conceal certain activities from the outside world. But the tunnels are only part of the story. Equally chilling are the whispers of humiliation rituals that allegedly took place during Diddy's private gatherings. These weren't the lavish, star-studded affairs filled with music and champagne. These were smaller, more secretive meetings where new artists, executives, or other high-profile individuals were put through what can only be described as psychological hazing. One witness described a scene that seemed straight out of a dystopian novel. A circle of people surrounded a single individual in the center, who was forced to perform tasks or endure ridicule as the group looked on. The goal, they said, was to break the person down, stripping them of their confidence and independence. It was about control, the witness explained. If you could humiliate someone publicly in front of their peers, you could own them privately. These rituals, according to some insiders, were a way for Diddy to test loyalty and ensure obedience. Artists who passed the test often found their careers skyrocketing, bolstered by high-profile collaborations and major industry backing. But for those who resisted or failed, they were either blacklisted from the industry or found their careers mysteriously stalling. Even more disturbing are the connections some have drawn between these rituals and the larger conspiracies within the entertainment industry. Whispers of Illuminati involvement have lingered around Hollywood for years, and Diddy's name has frequently been brought up in these discussions. While these claims remain unproven, the sheer number of allegations surrounding his parties and gatherings has left many questioning whether there's more to the story than meets the eye. The Smith family has also been drawn into the orbit of these rumors, particularly Will and Jaden. Jaden's abrupt departure from his family home at a young age raised eyebrows, with some insiders suggesting it may have been linked to disturbing events he witnessed. Others have pointed to Will Smith's public persona, a charismatic, approachable superstar, as being sharply at odds with whispers of a more secretive, controlling figure behind closed doors. One particularly chilling account involves a witness who claims to have seen Jaden Smith entering one of Diddy's secret tunnels alongside Will. Though the details remain vague, the implication was enough to spark a wave of speculation about what might have occurred. Another former assistant to the Smith family hinted at an environment filled with secrets and control, further deepening the mystery. But perhaps the most haunting aspect of these stories is how they connect to a larger theme: the cost of power in Hollywood. For years, insiders have hinted that the most successful figures in the industry aren't just talented. They've also made sacrifices, some of which are far darker than the public could ever imagine. Whether it's signing questionable contracts, participating in rituals, or turning a blind eye to exploitation, the price of entry into this world often seems unreasonably high. As these stories continue to surface, it's clear that the line between conspiracy theory and harsh reality is becoming increasingly blurred. While many of these claims remain unproven, the sheer volume of similar accounts paints a troubling picture of an industry that thrives on secrecy and control. So, as the whispers grow louder and the evidence continues to mount, one question looms large. How much of what we see in Hollywood is real, and how much is just an illusion? For the artists, executives, and even families caught in this web, the answers may be far more unsettling than anyone is prepared to face. As the curtain begins to fall on this tale of glamour, secrets, and control, one undeniable truth emerges. The world of fame isn't just a stage for talent. It's a battleground of power, manipulation, and sacrifice. For those who dared to climb to the top, the cost wasn't measured in dollars or accolades, but in pieces of their soul, chipped away by the demands of an industry that thrives on secrecy and submission. Imagine standing at the crossroads of ambition and integrity. For many who entered Diddy's world, this was more than a metaphor. It was a choice they had to make. A rising artist, eager to carve out their place in history, suddenly faced with an invitation to one of Diddy's private parties. It seemed like an opportunity of a lifetime, a golden key to unlock doors they dreamed of for years. But what they didn't realize was that this key came with a chain, one that bound them to a system far darker than they'd ever imagined. As the stories of these gatherings unfolded, so did the layers of pain and regret carried by those who survived them. One former guest, who spoke anonymously, described the deep shame they felt after attending one of Diddy's after-parties. "I thought I was walking into a celebration," they confessed, their voice trembling with emotion. "But by the end of the night, I realized I was part of something I couldn't unsee, something I couldn't undo." Their voice broke as they recounted the moment they felt their dignity stripped away, not by force, but by the overwhelming pressure to conform, to play along, to be part of the game. For others, the pain was even greater. The CEO, who resigned abruptly after attending one of Diddy's events, left behind a legacy of innovation and success, tarnished by whispers of blackmail and scandal. "I built my career on trust," they once said, "but one night took all of that away." These are not just stories of individuals. They are cautionary tales about the price of ambition in an unforgiving industry. But perhaps the most heartbreaking accounts come from those who refuse to participate. For every artist who rose to fame in Diddy's orbit, there were countless others who disappeared into obscurity because they chose to walk away. These are the unsung heroes, the ones who decided that no amount of fame or fortune was worth losing their sense of self. Yet even for them, the scars remain. "You don't just leave this world unscathed," one former insider explained. "Even if you escape, the memories follow you." And now, as these stories come to light, the question we must ask ourselves is this: how much of this is the cost of doing business in Hollywood? And how much is simply wrong? For decades, we've celebrated the glitz and glamour of the entertainment world without questioning what lies beneath. But these revelations force us to confront an uncomfortable reality: that the price of fame is often paid not in money, but in morality, dignity, and sometimes even humanity. So, where do we go from here? As we unravel these dark threads, it's clear that the system won't change overnight. But perhaps, by shedding light on these stories, we can begin to demand better. Better for the artists, better for the executives, and better for the dreamers who believe that talent and hard work should be enough to succeed. What would you do if faced with the same choices? Would you trade your integrity for a shot at greatness? Or would you walk away, knowing that the price of entry might be more than you're willing to pay? These are the questions we must all grapple with, not just as spectators of this world, but as participants in a culture that so often rewards exploitation over ethics. Let this be a moment of reflection. Let this be a call to action. Share your thoughts, your feelings, and your questions in the comments below. Because if we're ever going to change the narrative, it starts here, with voices like yours demanding better. What kind of world do we want to build? One of empowerment and respect, or one of secrets and control? The choice is ours to make.